have been working around the clock to really launch out some of our clients. They are getting excited about all that we're doing with Facebook groups. So today, being part two, we're going to get a little bit more intimate because we're going to actually get into some exercises. I want you guys to share in the chat answers to some of the questions because I want to get all of you really equipped and ready to do this because this is definitely the time. If we don't hit it now, I think we're really going to struggle with it. So I'm excited to do that. All right. So Katie says, Day's been busy with homeschool cleaning and getting dinner ready for tonight. Oh my gosh, Ava has gymnastics, but it's a great day. Excited to be here. Happy to have you. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump right in. So first of all, what I want to focus on. So yesterday, just to kind of catch us up where we were, right? We talked about creating your revenue goals. And we talked about it a little holistically, right? We said, hey, don't just start with like revenue, but like let's put some plans around your life goals so we can close the gap. By the way, is this screen a little distracting? It might be a little distracting. Isn't this thing so cool? We had a meeting earlier, and so I was using my video, but I feel like it might be a little bit much. There we go. Let's see. Just in case I want to get on the whiteboard for a second. Let me go here. You guys, if you haven't seen these vibe boards, they're like next level. Like I know you've seen them on my calls, but like if you don't have it, I highly recommend it if you like to do anything in the zone. Okay, that's a little less distracting. Okay, so we talked about your revenue goals. What do you need to get there? What's possible? And then also like what are you going to invest to get there, right? Like what are you going to invest financially with time and resources? Like what are you going to invest to get to that revenue goal, right? And then we talked about defining your products. So, like, what does the market need? What does it need from you? What do you want to solve? What problems are you passionate about solving? And what are you equipped to solve, right? Because I think a lot of people get a little discouraged as they get into this stuff. They're like trying to find their way, trying to find their path. And it's like, what do I do? How do I get here? And I think the reality is that a lot of us struggle with this, but not all of us can get there unless we're being really intentional about the problems that we're solving. And then, of course, like we've got to figure out our freemium sales funnel options, right? So in the chat, I would love to hear from you guys. Like, what do you see as being your sales funnel? Okay. Like, and I know we're coming from different spaces and different zones. Some of us are creators, some of us are entrepreneurs, some are a combination thereof. But in the chat, let's really light it up. Like, what is your top of funnel? Like, what does your funnel look like? How are you pulling people in? And how is that working for you? Okay, because I want to see because what I want to do is really like hot seat today where we get some exercises going on and we become super intentional about what we're doing. Um, Now, with that, as you're starting to drop all that out, we're going to talk very quickly about one specific thing, okay? One specific thing. And that is I want you to create the outreach plan. Because what's really important is that we don't just like talk about what we're going to do, right? But we need to have a plan for it, right? Without vision, the people perish. So we need to have a plan for what we're doing. And we the only way we do that is by getting really dialed in on what our actual outreach is going to look like. Okay. So who has a plan? So I've got some messages coming through. Amazing. Good job. Let's keep them going. Drew, do you have a sales funnel and how do you look at that? I'd love to know. Um, I want to make sure that we're catching everybody where they're at so we can really support you today. All right. So Katie says, my website/blog, I would love to also create a newsletter, bringing all my social media traffic to my website and blog. Amazing. I think that blogs are still very effective with SEO, and that's really helpful. And I think finding that area where you're really reaching moms, because that's your target. I know. I want to make sure that you're reaching them at the capacity they have, being mindful of your own capacity, right? So that you can pull those together and win at that. So I think that's a great idea. One of the examples of what I'm talking about is like for me, doing videos is more effective and like it just works better for me because I can just jump on a video, have my team take the recordings, get it out, and then as a result, they take those and we can create downloadables. We can move from there without me having to touch every single thing. Same thing with a blog, right? Like if you write it, then you could have a team like take it into little bite-sized pieces, drop it onto social media. I've written a book, so we use my book sometimes as copy to use. And so I think anything that you can do that's really scalable, like front end, and then get a trustworthy team behind you who can take that and leverage it, is really powerful. All right, Jen says, I don't currently have one yet, but it's something I'm working on building and figuring out what I can offer for free to help get others interested in the services we offer. That's great. I love that. So, in that case, I would ask you, Jen, as you're creating it, what are some of the things that you're thinking? Just go ahead and drop it. I think a lot of us were like, oh my gosh, it's so nerve wracking when I have to tell you exactly what I'm thinking. But I think it's really powerful if we can be real about where our hangups are so that we can be even more effective. So Jen, why don't you share with me right now what you're thinking, and kind of like what you're working on right now so that we can all respond to it and give some feedback. That's really the power today of like being a little bit more in a brainstorm conversation so that we can really like connect the dots for and with you so that you don't feel like you're alone because that's really the main key, right? All right, Liz wants to focus on affiliate marketing and her digital shop in her website. Amazing. So, right off the bat for that, then, Nina, I would say it would be great to have her get a link to be able to help people sign up for the virtual assistants because I know she wants to do more of those. And then she can have an affiliate with us. So, let's do that. And also with, of course, the marketplace directory. So I'll have that as a little takeaway if you can follow up with Des, because we could definitely help her with that. Katie's like, yes, exactly. Amazing. So, Katie, why don't you drop in what you see as being? I see you're talking about TikTok videos do very well for me. Amazing. So, that's powerful. And you could always take one of those videos as long as you're also filming either on another channel or you're exporting it from TikTok, and then drop it with your blog post so that you're just doing a little bit of blogging, but you're just leveraging your time there. Because I think that's really what we want to get after with 2024. We want to think smarter about our businesses so that we can all like make money in more effective, scalable ways. So Drew says, been working on my side gig, which is lab testing for DNA. Wow, that's cool. We spent the end of the year getting V code and were successful yesterday. Oh my goodness. Yay. One of 8 in the USA. Wow. Congratulations. That's incredible. So for you, you're doing so with lab tests. Yeah, let's give them some cheers. So that's incredible. And it looks like you're getting this out to hospitals and nursing homes, et cetera. So then having a plan. So are you launching also in the UK? Or are you starting in the US? Are you doing both? I'm curious because I think having a plan on how you roll that out to nursing homes and hospitals is powerful because you're already getting traction from what you're doing. So that's amazing just to kind of get that positive growth. So you keep moving towards what you're after. Okay, USA only, Florida to start. Amazing. All right. So Jen is saying, I have started a newsletter concept, sharing tools we use, projects we're working on, etc., to get others excited. Then created a really strong presence on Instagram and social media. That's amazing. I think that that's really powerful. And also thinking too with your newsletter concepts around, sometimes when you share so much, it actually makes them feel like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this. I need you to do it. So a lot of people are kind of afraid to share too much, right? Because they're like, oh, it's too much, it's too much. So it's almost like this balance between always having more to share so that they want to keep coming back, but at the same time being really intentional about the fact that you could actually like overwhelm them in a good way, right? Giving them the tools and the platforms and stuff. So I love your strategy there. That's amazing. That's brilliant. Katie says, always into working smarter, not harder. Yay. Awesome. I'm glad you like that thought. Tiana says, I've been getting the most traffic through my hype link. I've also had a sign up on there for text updates and newsletters. Amazing. So what are your text updates? What are you sending those text updates? And then what are your newsletters? And then Drew with USA only, Florida to start. So, Drew, have you already mapped out like getting received a list or created a list of hospitals and nursing homes in Florida? And then do you have a thought on what you're going to say to them to start to engage that relationship? That'd be my question. Okay, cool. So, Melina, what about you with top of funnel? You've been doing this. We've talked a lot about this. Do you want to talk a little bit about in the chat what you're doing for your top of funnel? I would love to share that with the group. Okay, cool. So let me. Okay.
Oh, you want me to put it in the chat?
Oh no, go ahead, jump in. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm still, you're always constantly learning and working out the kinks.
1,000%.
It's never like perfect. So it's good to like try different things. Like you see so much of this on social media. Like, oh, I created automated systems and I'm making $10,000 a day. Like just try to ignore like that clutter. Like you really have to kind of work out what's feels good for you. And like I'm not perfect, right? But like I do have a newsletter that goes out. I know someone on here said they wanted a newsletter. I'm really big on that. And like I have kind of two different audiences. My main wheelhouse is the health and fitness industry, and I've merged that with the beauty space, clean beauty and healthy beauty products. And so like I have a list of like my customers and my VIPs and like people that like are in my real specific niche of using those products because I am a brand partner with a brand. And then I have my whole like fitness newsletter, right? That goes out. So then those beauty people are also now getting my fitness newsletter as well, because why not? Like they're using clean beauty. They obviously are into like taking care of themselves and wanting things. So like I have a newsletter that goes out, and then I have a value email that goes out on Fridays, or specifically for those beauty products. And sometimes I throw, in a brand or a product awareness that has to do with health, obviously, and fitness, it to everybody. Like, so I will plug in the brand to my newsletter, but like again, I'm still figuring out what flows. But then I always have like some kind of lead magnet. So like a free download, or like, hey, check out, even if it's just like check out my Instagram reel. I did a cool workout that I want you to try. Like, so you don't have to like always reinvent something. It could be just like a plug, like, oh, like make sure you check out my like again, like what I posted this week, or a recipe, or whatever the case is. And then just following up with my audience too. Is that what you're really?
Yeah, exactly.
Example. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure I'm answering.
That's amazing.
Like, I'm still trying to I'm still trying to capitalize more on my programs and things that I offer, because we know how emails go and like the click rate and the open rate and all of that. So I just recently was telling Rachel yesterday, it's probably why you asked me to speak too. Like I finally just created a stand store, like everybody's doing on social. I don't know, everybody that I see on social in my algorithm anyway. And it really did. And it's really exciting me because it's a very simple way to get free downloads and or even like a low budget digital product. Like I'm talking like a $20 in the $20 range. And I'm really going to start testing that out now with my email flows and stuff. So I'm launching like a soft, not soft. I'm launching a small scale digital product on Thursday for the new year. And I hope that it goes well, and I'll see kind of how my flow and my sequencing is with that.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Melina. And that's exactly what I wanted to get at was I think when we start opening up and we talk and we share and we're talking about what we're doing, it's like everybody gets new ideas. Like Katie's like, wait a minute, like what's the stand store? By the way, Katie, that's literally her IG. Isn't that still your IG, Melina? Isn't it at Melina Fitness on Instagram? Oh yeah, Melina Fitness. So you already had it. That's like the kind of branding that I dream about. Jen, so precious. Oh my gosh, yes, Melina, you're amazing. Yes, she is. I love the idea of using this idea for my personal branding affiliate linking. Yeah, I think that's so great. So here's what I want to do really quickly. I'm gonna pop this up. So let's like map this out just a little bit, because what I'm hearing everybody say is like, hey, I want to do newsletters. I love your thoughts, Jen, about making them bite size. I know Katie loves that too. Let me just move this over here. And then Melina, like you getting going with Stand Store is so great because it just gets you moving and helps people just get into it. Like I think sometimes we can all, like myself included, admit that like we sometimes overcomplicate what could be super simple. So I want to just kind of map this out a little bit. Can you guys hear me okay as I turn away? from this microphone. The microphone is amazing, but what I've learned is like if you're not like, "Hey, can you hear me now?" like Britney style, like it really does make an impact. But make sure let me know if you can hear me well. Um, so what we have right here is your sales funnel, right? And the goal is to be able to, at the top of your sales funnel, really pull people in. And so, like for you, Drew, like you've already made your list of hospitals and nursing homes. You've already got your sales people starting to be hired and go through that. So then the question is like, how are we pulling people in? And I always like to leverage events, to be honest with you. Like I'm a big events girl because I think that a lot of people will reach you through events more like quickly than just like the one-to-one. So I think about it and I'm like, what are the nonprofits that are around the hospital organizations that you can get involved in, that you can donate something for the silent auction or be a sponsor of, be involved in? Because I start thinking about that kind of stuff and I'm like, if we can leverage events, it's powerful. One of our virtual assistant clients, they've hired like a specialist to get into sales, and we're focusing on like hosting events every single month to create waves, right? And then his job is to manage those waves. So up here would be example of wave creation. So you can have events, right? Like Rick is at an event literally right now, actually. So you could have events that are coming through. You can have your newsletter. And to be able to leverage your newsletter, you need to get the data, right? So where is that data coming from? How are you qualifying it and how are you nurturing it? So an example of that would be, you can get lead lists. Like our team, for all of our specialists, we give lists to our clients so that they can actually get that data. But it's all about how you nurture them that really matters on whether or not that's going to translate. Okay. So for example, let's say that we have your events, we have the newsletter, we're getting started, right? And to like pulling people in. But then what are we doing here that pulls them in, that makes what you're doing an integral part of their world? Because if we can leverage that well, then you've really closed the gap between everybody else. Now I want to hear what you guys are saying in the chat right now. Like, how are you nurturing people? So I know we talked about newsletters, which is great. Um, and I think that that really starts here, but it does come down because the more effective you are at communicating, the better. But how are you like, are you guys doing webinars? Are you engaging people at events? Are there other things that you want to do this year that you're like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, but I haven't gotten started yet. I want to hear some feedback. So drop in that. So Melina's doing lives. That's a great one. We're doing a lot of lives. She's doing webinars. Amazing. And remember, what we're really trying to do is start to like Melina was just saying, right? How do you get past the clutter? Because there is a lot of clutter in all of our markets and all of our worlds, but that momentum is really powerful. And she's doing weekly calls, which weekly calls is really good for nurturing. Because you think about it, like they're not going to just fall into a weekly call. They might fall into a live if it's on social media. They might find a webinar through an ad or just through posting in a group. But really, like pulling them into like weekly calls, you're creating momentum. That's what we've seen too with our Mondays is being able to just like connect with everybody and get more intentional. This year, we're going to flip that up a little bit and do more workshops like these where we really start teaching the stuff. Because I think we can kind of get into like fall into the trap of like not like really learning the stuff that's going to change the game for us if we're not like being intentional. Like, hey, let's take a topic and let's dissect it. So if there are things that you guys want to talk about, like for example, maybe you want to talk about newsletters and just have like a workshop, like let's talk about newsletters, then let's do it. I think that the reality, what you're going to see for sure is that the more you're active in the chat, which you guys are doing, I'm seeing them, it's making me super happy. But the more active you are, the more I'm able to really craft messages for you that are specific for what you're going through, specific for what you're finding. So Katie, that's a brilliant tool. I love it. Jen says, I want to start doing webinars to talk about what we do, our services, give them breadcrumbs. Amazing. Then Katie's like, yes, this is very helpful. Can we do the newsletter workshop? For sure. Okay, so let's talk about that then. So, Jen, you're wanting to do webinars, which I think are super powerful. And so, what I always think about is like what we mentioned yesterday, if you guys remember, when we were talking about the insurance company. It's like you want to be leveraging out what you're doing, thinking about other areas of their life that they might care about. Because no one's going to want to get on a webinar where they're just getting sold, but they're going to want to get on a webinar if it's like a content strategy. And Jen, it's January, I would jump right on doing a content strategy for the whole year. I mean, like in the chat, let me know who would go to that. Like if Jen was like, listen, everybody, I'm doing a content strategy session for 2024. We're going to map out every big holiday, every big event, and we're going to give you a full content plan. I mean, that would be amazing, right? And maybe Jen, you're like, well, I don't want to give away all that. Well, the key is that you're going to give them the top level. And again, some of it's going to be so overwhelming. They're like, you just handle it. Like, I'm that kind of person, right? Like, I don't have time in my life to do all the things that I need to do to be most successful. But at the same time, I know that if I bring the right people on board, then I can really leverage my time in better ways. Someone like you could help me scale what I'm doing and think about things differently. Melina does this with me. We have so many chats together and we'll be like, okay, we need to get on a whiteboard and just like map this out. Like, what are we doing and what is that journey? Tiana's saying she definitely would go. So, Jen, let me know what you think about that idea. All right. So, we're getting everyone up here, right? Like getting their attention. Also, it's just social media posts in general. It's going to work wonders for you. That's what the Facebook groups are about that we were talking about. And I highly recommend you considering creating, like Katie already has, a Facebook group where you can search and nurture a specific community and connect them to things that they care about. Unless you already have your own platform and you're driving people there, which I totally get. But it is really powerful to be able to start to like pull that audience in. Katie says, that is what I'm about. Leverage, as you just said, so you don't have time. You don't have time to do all the things. It's so true. That is what I mean when I say I don't have time. Yes. I feel you, girl. Like, I don't have time to be inefficient either. Right? I have time to be efficient. I don't have time to be inefficient. Mary says, Rachel, what frequency is the best for newsletters to go out? So that's such a great question, Mary. Now, we had an amazing guy working with us for quite some time. Mary knows him really well. His name's Josh. And he is a digital marketing genius. In fact, Des, let's get an interview with him for the team on one of our workshops because I think it'll blow your mind. He's so smart. But what he always told me, he was like, I'll be honest with you, there is so much cash in newsletters, and people don't do it because they're either scared of rejection, they don't think they have time to do it, they don't make time to do it. Because really, it's like that's the question with time. Because I see you, Drew. It's like your most valuable asset. And you know what? You're exactly right. It's the one thing you can't replenish. You spend all your money, you can replenish that. You buy a house, you could buy another house, right? If you lose it, like you can always replenish anything but time. And so it is the most valuable, pricey asset you will ever have. But what he said was that honestly, like 2, 3 times a week, if you do a newsletter, like you will see such a bump in revenue, like truly in your business. He's like, I've seen it, I've tested it, I've launched it for clients. So the big easy goal, I mean, it's not easy, but I would say the attainable goal would be 2 times a week, and it's effective and it will pull it in. And you just can't get stuck thinking about like, oh my gosh, like what if they unsubscribe? That it's okay, they're not your people. Like you don't need to change your voice, you need to change your room. Who feels me on that? You do not need to change your voice. You need to change your room. If people aren't listening, if people aren't responding, if people aren't giving you what you're looking for, change your room. There are so many people in this world. There is no excuse to be lonely, to be rejected and feel afraid. You will always find somebody else. So I think it's really important to think about that when we're doing these newsletters, when we're doing this outreach. Like, feel powerful knowing that the people you bring into your circle matters greatly. I think about that for myself. I'm like, I've got to keep my mind protected. I've got to keep my heart protected so that I have the momentum and the energy to do what I was created to do. And if I start listening to the wrong voices, I start doing the wrong things, I stop thinking confidently and focused about my business and my brand, about my life, about my heart, about my family, then what's going to happen? I'm going to lose stamina. I'm going to lose momentum. I just talked to someone this morning and she was like, Rach, I've just been feeling so discouraged, like so discouraged. And I'm like, well, let's talk about it. Like, why are we feeling discouraged? What are we feeding ourselves? What are we believing? Like, if you notice yourself feel discouraged, I want you to find a way to rewind the past 5 minutes, the past 10 minutes. What were you saying in your head? What was happening? Because guaranteed there were some negative affirmations that you were perpetuating and you were buying into them and they were creating an energy field. That's also why I just like glaze over whatever headlines I need to know in the world. Because I'm not here to like sink down into the darkness. I'm here to like rise people up. And you've got to know what's going to help and what's going to hinder you from doing that. All right. So Mary, I get that question all the time from our clients. Amazing. So 2 times a week, let's go. True time is my most pricey asset. I use it wisely while making sure the people around me can grind the gears. I love that. I think it's so powerful. It's so good to have a qualified team around you. I tell my team every time, I've mentioned it many times in these calls, I would not be doing these calls if I didn't have Joanne and Des. Like I really wouldn't because there's so many moving parts. I'm incapable of doing it. Will we continue to evolve and grow? Absolutely. Do we continue to make mistakes? Of course. We're humans. But I could not do what I do if I didn't have them. And when you think about that, you start to think about your investments differently. You start to think, wow, like everything that comes as a result of these calls is because I made the right choice in bringing them into my team and equipping them, empowering and training them to be the best they can possibly be. That's my job as a leader. And so if I'm mindful of that and I'm intentional in that, then that's powerful. And by the way, friends, there are other people who need these reminders. And this is how you connect with them. You figure out what your people need to hear. And that's what nurturing is. It's just relationship. Like we get so nervous, we get so stressed, but that's because we're not doing what we talked about yesterday. Humanize your conversations, humanize the journey. What does one person need to experience? Let me give you an example. Let's say, Jen, you're saying I have a webinar this Friday for how to grow your community organically. I would love for any of you to attend. I would love to attend. Please invite me. Will you email this over to me, Jen? I'd love to attend if I can make it. So let's say that she's doing that webinar, right? So she knows that she's got a big event that she wants to drive traffic to, right? This is her event. So what does she need to do? Well, for one, she needs to create a journey that pulls people in, okay? One of these journeys would be the initial, what she just did, the invitation, right? So she needs to invite people to this event to bring them in. Then she needs to remind them to go, right? Because we're like, oh yeah, I want to go. That'd be awesome. Awesome. Yeah, let's go. And then what happens? Friday comes along. You've got planes, trains, automobiles, kids, responsibilities, and you forget about it, right? So what do we need to do? We need to pull this down. We need to pull this down. So remind them and then give them access. How many times have we had no-show webinars? I've had so many very recently too. Like we have them happen, right? And they're a bummer. And you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Well, we've got to look back at the journey. We've got to look back at the journey. And then it's just a question of where did we have a misstep? Was it here? Did we not do enough inviting? Is that the problem? Did we not go in enough groups, go to enough DMs, send enough emails, follow up enough? Is that the problem? What about once they locked in, did we remind them appropriately, right? Did we make sure that they truly got the reminder and that they have the information, which then would bring us to access? Where was the breakdown? You really want to be able to look back to launch forward. We were talking about this yesterday too, right? Like you won't be able to go and like grow and scale if you're stuck like looking like being like, okay, well, I don't really know what went wrong, but let me just keep moving. No, we have to get uncomfortable and just say, hey, I actually need to like tap into this and figure out what didn't work so that next time I can pull people in. And then it's just as important to journey with them outside of this event. Journey with them. The first thing could be your thank you. Like send them a thank you for attending. Send them a thank you, right? And then give them an offer. Like, what do you want to close? I mean, how many times are we leaving stuff on the table because we're not putting an opportunity out that we could close them on. You're already building relationship. And by the way, this is a great way to pick up the people who didn't come. Like maybe you RSVP'd, you said you were going to come, you didn't show up, but then in this journey, you end up working with them. And then you just keep nurturing them, right? So you keep pulling them deeper into your funnel until you start closing more deals. All right, so I know we're right at time because this was just supposed to be like a 30-minute one. So let me just make sure. Jen said I have a webinar. Got it. Also, before the call is over, Rach, Denise Bazzi is ready to have a call regarding my summit. I have other leaders lined up too. So let me know if I can add you to an IG group chat so we can see when all three of us can schedule a Zoom. You know what? I don't know if I would see it, to be honest with you, because I'm so bad on IG Messenger. But Des does help me with that. So if you want, why don't you send an email and exactly what you're looking for, and then if I can help in any way, I totally will. Okay, so yes. So by the way, I did get a question about the video equipment that I'm using right now because we're on multiple streams. So answer that question. I am just using my computer. I'm literally using an iMac, the whole system. So they have a really good 4K camera. So thank you. I'm hoping you like the camera, and that's why you're asking, Ava. Nice to see you. All right. So if you would like to attend, will you drop your email in the chat? Amazing. So everyone's going to attend. Amazing. Just send everyone a calendar invite. Yay. This is awesome. Okay. So any last minute questions before we wrap up? I know this went really fast today, but I really wanted to pull us into this vision because tomorrow when I interview Dana, which I hope all of you guys can come for, that's going to be really good. It's going to only be in the chat. I'm sorry, in the app. So make sure you're in the Launchpreneur app for that one. It will not be on Zoom tomorrow. It's an interview, so we're doing split screens on the app. So make sure you're in the app. Oh, Jen, you're so sweet. Thank you for saying that. Des, can you take a little screenshot of that? She's so sweet. Okay, but I wanted you to know this in this structure so that tomorrow, when she's talking about how she built her Facebook group and all the fun stuff, I want to make sure that you are understanding how it can really benefit you. Because what's most important is that we really hammer this out and we're able to crush it for our clients, for our friends, for ourselves. And then if you guys have specific questions that you want to ask someone who created a Facebook group from scratch and grew it to over 70,000 members, be sure to let me know. Just send me an email, rachel@rachelmccord.com. Let me know what you want me to ask her because we will definitely do that tomorrow because I won't be able to chat with you guys like we normally do here on Zoom, which is really hard for me because I like to see real time. But we will be in the app tomorrow. So just make sure you have the Launchpreneur app downloaded and that you're signed up because you'll go in there and you'll actually see a spot where you can watch the chat. It'll be on the Wednesday. So thank y'all so much. I love each and every one of you. I'm sorry we got into a lot very quick, but I know you got busy days. Time is our precious asset. So I'm glad you're excited, Katie. I believe in each and every one of you. I love each and every one of you. Know that you're wonderfully and fearfully made with such a purpose and you matter to the world. So never lose track of that. Everything you're doing, everywhere you're going, in every place has a huge purpose. So turn random interactions at the grocery store into powerful connection moments. Send emails that fuel the world and help us all be better and live better. I love you all, and I will see you later. Bye.